Okay, with the last few minutes, I just want to talk about control keys. So these are ways that you can navigate around your terminal and get the most out of being able to move around your command line. So I've borrowed this from a lot of this content from Lowell Headings, so thanks to him. And just one note: typically, there's sort of two different configurations that are used, either VI style command editing or Emacs style editing. And by default, Bash comes with Emacs style, so you can just leave that as is. But if for some reason it's not working as expected, that might be why. So there's a number of keyboard shortcuts, and you can go through these on your own if we run out of time today. But the most important one of all is Control C. This will kill the current process. If you've got just you're getting a command that won't finish, or you're not sure, you think you entered the wrong command, or you're getting lots of output to the screen, you can always type Control C, and this will typically work. Although, as it says here, some processes won't honor it, but typically they will. You can suspend a process if you don't want to kill it. This will suspend it, and then you can type BG to send it to the background, or you can bring it to the foreground later using the FG command. There's this Control D command, which typically we don't use very much, but it's available. There's a bunch of other commands in terms of how you can control the screen. So you can clear the content. You can also just type clear. You can type Control S to stop output. This is useful if you don't want to kill the command, but you want to stop the output, and you can resume it as well. Some of the most useful ones are these moving the cursor around. So I will demo these briefly. So let's say, let's say we're using our history here. So we typed 4 and then an up arrow, and this gives us this command. Now, I can just move the cursor with my arrows, and that's fine. But let's say I want to go to the end of the line. I can type Control E, and it will go to the end, or Control A to go to the beginning of the line. Now, you can also move around word by word. So one thing we want to do before we do this is make sure that under our preferences and keyboard, there's something called the meta key, which is like the Alt key. So we can make sure we select this Use option as the meta key. So now on the Mac, you can type Alt or Option for Alt, and so this will Alt F will go forward one word with the cursor, and Alt B will go back one word, and you can also go by character if you want, although the arrows work just fine for that. These are all optional things. You don't have to use them, but they can save you some time and make your life a little easier. To delete text, you can use the delete button. You can there's a number of different ways to delete or just to cut. So cutting often is more useful than deleting because you can save what's there. So for example, this Control K will cut everything after the cursor, and then Control Y will bring it back. We can also cut a single word with Control W, and then yank will bring it back. There's ways to capitalize characters from the command line. These are all pretty relatively advanced things that you don't need to do. You can manually do most of the stuff, potentially just as easy, but I want you to know that these things are there. The other most important thing about this besides Control-C is tab. So remember that tab completion is available to you. So if we get out of that command and we type cat, the first few letters, and then just type tab, it will try to complete this for us. Or let's say if we type S, so if we type SCO, it knows that scores is what we wanted, because that's, if we see up here the files that we have, scores is the only one that begins with SCO. But if we just type S and we type tab once, it won't do anything. But if we type tab again, it will print out all of the files that begin with S. Just print them so we can see. So now we can say, oh, okay, there's two files, and one begins with SC, and the other one begins with SU. So I want the one that begins with SC, so I'll type SC and then tab, and it'll finish completing. So this saves you time. It does a number of things. It saves you time. It also prevents you from making typos when you type a command. It also gives you some peace of mind knowing that yeah, this file's there. I know what the first few letters are, and I'm going to let the computer, kind of do the thinking for me. And it kind of is like, yeah, the file's there. It's typed correctly. Good to go. Of course, you want to double check, make sure it's what you really want. But tab completion is super useful in the Bash shell. It's also really useful in Python and IPython, which is an interactive Python environment, the Jupyter notebooks. Pretty much everything in this class you want to use tab completion, because it will do a lot of the thinking for you and the typing for you, which is just faster and it prevents mistakes. So this Alt-R is a way you can get your command history using a different notation, but I think the way that we showed, just where you just type the first few letters, and then you can go up and down in that. And then you'll notice that if you try to go back to the original prompt, it ends at the last command. You just can hit Control-C if you don't want any of those commands. Are there any questions on these various control keys? We'll, again, you don't have to use most of these, but a few of them are useful. It's good to know that they're there, and you can start to integrate them into your workflow. If not, then we'll stop with that today.